But those are the situations that you as a homeowner want to avoid.
Okay.
So again, when a contractor if everything is okay, it's fine. But then there are other ways to see whether a contractor is a good contractor, other red flags. But overall, I'm not saying if a contractor comes to your house to paint your wall and agrees with you on colors, they're a bad contractor. Right? Clearly, I'm not going to care.
Yeah.
Like, listen, you got a taste, I got a taste. I'm here to do what you want, not the other way around. Although sometimes I would even suggest not to do that. But anyways, with that being said, agreeableness, 100% agreeing with your client on everything, doesn't matter, even a kitchen. Oh, you want that? Of course we can do it. Of course we can do that.
Yeah.
A professional should always say, yes, we can do it, but you should pay attention. If we do this here, that might influence something else. So just letting you know, before we start moving ahead or before you hire us or anybody else,
right?
I might not be here tomorrow. You might not decide to hire me, which is fine.
Yeah.
But I want to share this piece of information with you so that you don't make this mistake.
Right.
Alrighty, welcome everybody for another episode of Acadia on Air. Thank you very much for being here with us. I want you to introduce again my co-host, Vic.
Nice to meet you guys again. Good to see you guys. Good to see you guys again.
Nice to have you with me again.
Yeah.
So, yes, Vic going to be asking me some more questions that people are very interested to know about. Let's just jump into it.
All right.
Vic, nice to have you.
Yeah, it's good. I just cannot believe we have the second episode, the second week, which is so good.
Yeah.
Right?
And I really enjoyed the first one. It was so much fun.
Exactly, right?
And a lot more coming. We are going to have guests
got a lot
soon.
more.
Actually, we're going to have guests
So,
showing up.
Exactly.
Probably in the next or after the
in the
next episode.
We
very
fully
soon.
covered the whole, the first week of April, and I really hope you can cover the whole, the whole year. I mean,
That's going to be exciting.
Yeah, right.
But let people have what they're here for.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about the second episode, which is
sure.
pretty much we're here to talk about how to choose the right consultant / design build company, how to make sure that you're doing the right thing when you're talking to a person, where to be careful, pretty much all the information that you need to know in order to hire a company to start doing work for you in this process of construction and building permits.
Yeah.
Right?
And yeah, exactly. And it's for, not only me, myself, but mass majority of people, how to choose the right consultants, right? Like the right designer, the right contractor to build your home, but not only your home, but also your dream.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Your dream home.
You're absolutely correct.
So
some people, their home
dream.
is their dream. It's
exactly.
like you don't build a house every day. You don't build anything every day. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's based on your dream, right? Like based on your goals and trajectory to go.
Yeah.
So today's episode, we define quite a few questions to ask, Max, and how to define a good, consultant and
And a contractor, it depends, right?
Exactly.
And we're also going to explain people when or how important it is to have a separate consultant,
right,
or to have one design build company. So yeah, I'm very excited about this episode. Let's jump into it.
So you ready?
Of course.
Let's
go.
kick into it.
Let's go.
So, question here is, so what is the differences between a one-man operation and firms like Acadia Design Consultants?
Yeah, so this is a great question because, and we kind of decided to start with this question because I think this is very crucial. This is very initial. Every time you talk to people, the assumption is, and I'm doing it for so long, the assumption is, well, you have a couple of people going to be working on it. You're probably going to be more expensive.
True.
Yeah?
True.
Or you probably... So I really want to explain what is the difference between one-man operation and what is the difference between
like the whole team.
consultation firm.
Right.
So many people would hire a person who's a consultant, and they would do everything on their behalf. What happens is there are a few scenarios that can happen. Yes, clearly this person going to be a couple of bucks cheaper on the get-go.
Yeah.
But the question is, what happens next? So you save a couple of bucks on this person. They start their job. They do the permits. They are not as, not always, but sometimes they're not as knowledgeable, as the consulting firm.
Yeah.
Takes them a little bit longer. So now we have a problem with timeline. Usually they will promise a lot more. And they will under-deliver.
Timeline, right? Because they only have
under-deliver.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So problem number one, of course, is their ability of providing everything on time. If they collect more projects, become a problem. Now, our firm will be able to have everything on schedule. We have, of course, a full team that works with our clients.
Yeah.
And I guess the bottom line is we are also more knowledgeable. So what happens is if our client get drawings, if a client, a homeowner, get drawings from us and from a one-man operation, let's call it this, there are a lot of situations where, whatever is proposed in the drawings might cost a little bit more.
Right.
Not because of lack of experience, lack of knowledge. They can get the permits, but those permits going to cost more.
Right.
Versus in a case where you're working with a company like us, you have a lot of consultants that know what they're doing. So what we're proposing in our drawings would be, like, for example, if you are proposing a structure, one can propose wood beam that cost X amount of money, let's say $500 versus another one that can propose steel beam that costs $1,500. Where's the difference?
Like 3
So
times
the
more.
difference is in the knowledge. When you're as a homeowner getting your permits from a consultant, you don't know that. At the end of the day, what happens is you got your permits, you're very happy, you go to a contractor gives you a price, you pay the price, and you build your house. Versus if you're working with a company like ours, we know different construction procurements. We are there on the market for so long, 20 years now, understanding how can we save on construction. So the question is, are you willing to save, let's say,
Like
an
a
X
few
amount
bucks.
of small amount of money on permits and lose a bigger amount of money on construction? Many people are not looking forward. Also, what I want to explain to people that for people building permits, that means, okay, we just need an approval from the city to construct. This is not what building permits are. Building permits, if you think about it, is the contract between a homeowner to the municipality. This contract includes drawings and specifications on how the construction is going to be proposed and done.
Done. Right.
So you can have a contract drafted. If you look at something else, you can have a contract drafted by a lawyer.
Yeah.
You can find an experienced lawyer that will make sure that the contract is bulletproof.
Yeah.
Or you can find a cheaper lawyer that will, draft this contract for you.
But it's not
But it
fully
might
covered.
be a little problem, right?
Yeah, like not fully covered.
Exactly.
Right.
And then the payments come in the future. So it's kind of the same thing when it comes to architecture, construction. You got to make sure that whoever is doing your permits
They're professionals.
is not underestimated because we don't want to spend a small X amount of money now. You need to always look into the future. At the end of the day, when you're looking for this consultant, it's just a partial thing, probably 10% of the construction.
Right.
Another thing that is very important when it comes to this question is you probably have seen one-man operation, a contractor, right? They do everything. They would try to do the permits. They would try to submit to the city.
Yeah.
clearly everything applies here as well. I would definitely suggest when it comes to the first phase of construction, which is consultation, to approach a consultant. And of course, we're going to discuss future questions here that will explain why. But I definitely suggest if you want to hear answers, if you want to know why certain materials were picked, if you want to know why certain structures were picked, A and not B, you definitely want to be able to approach a consultant.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
So it's very important, and I stress it to all of you out there. It's very important if you have a design build company to make sure that all the applications that are done for permits are actually done in-house, are actually done by the same company, not by an external company out there. Yes, but I hope this answers the questions. Yeah. And of course, actually another thing, when it comes to timelines, clearly when a company does something like that, everything isn't within their timelines. They know what they're doing. They've done it quite a few times.
Yeah.
When it's a one-man operation that is doing the drawings, applications, construction, problems are there right around the corner waiting to happen.
Right.
You and I both understand. We know that problems in construction might cost in tens of thousands of dollars sometimes, right?
True.
So
especially in the future, right? Like,
of course, it's an investment.
Exactly.
Would you exactly? Would you invest into a stock that has bigger chances to fail than into a stock that is not? Exactly.
Of course not.
This is the same kind of situation. When you put your chips on a company, you gotta make sure that this company knows what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So another question here is that because I was asking the question about like one man operation and the whole team, right? So did you kick off your career as one man, or you kick off as Acadia right away, like the whole team? Just question.
So first of all, yes, we kicked off as Acadia right away, but as a one man.
Okay.
The name was there. The story was that. So clearly the idea is the reason we grew here in Acadia to what we are today is mainly because as a one-man operation, I really remember being behind on everything, not being able to answer a lot of questions to my client. So you've been
there before.
Exactly.
Right.
Not being there when necessary. What happens also, by the way, that's a great question.
Yeah.
What happens is when the consultant is not there,
right?
If you have an inspection and an inspector want a letter by the consultant in order to continue construction,
right? Your
construction is standing until you get that. If you need an inspector, if you were required to have an inspection by the consultant, that's going to take longer because I'm busier. So having a firm taking care of you and having a firm where the whole team is kind of on top of your project actually makes it a lot faster, easier, and we're on the ball with everything. Because I don't need to think how to get tomorrow for a site visit.
Yeah.
It's in my schedule by the team.
Right.
And really all I do is I sit with everybody and make sure that, when it comes to drawings, everything done right. When it comes to submissions, everything is submitted. When it comes to site visit, I'm there on the schedule. Day or a couple of days after max. We don't want sites to stand for a week, wait. Because if you have a roughing inspection to pass, usually after roughing inspection, when you're building anything, after roughing inspection, you would go to finishes.
Right.
So now the contractor cannot do drywall. They cannot finish because they're waiting on max to show up. Right? And that's where the whole idea of design build started coming in, right? With all my experience of construction and everything, I said to myself, how do I make that faster? How do I make that more efficient? How do I make sure that, we're on top of everything with construction? Okay, we need time schedule. How do we have that time schedule? How do we get to the point where I start construction tomorrow, but I know that I'm going to have a plumber coming in a month and a half from now? How do we do all that?
Right.
And yes, as soon as our team started growing, I just realized more and more that it's actually makes it more efficient
and necessary, right?
of course
to build a whole team.
because every person we have a person that deals with applications, which is Karen. We have a person that deals with schedules. We have a person that deals with design. We have a person that, an administrator that would always answer the call so that clients are not frustrated. Oh my God, I'm looking for this. Me, myself, and my hammer. Where the hell is he? Where the hell is he at? You know? So having all this team and being always there for the clients,
right?
that pretty much what grew Acadia. And I find that those investments got us to where we are today.
Good customer service.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good customer yeah, exactly. Because I was there sitting there and listening to, people, picking up phone calls, right? And also you're having a lot of meetings like a day. It's quite a hassle. And the thing is, I'm not in the field of constructions industry, right? But
well, you are part of Acadia.
Yeah. Now it's part of Acadia right now. Yeah, but so whenever I listen to your, like the meeting with your client, I don't know. I actually learned something.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
It just means that I'm doing my job.
Yeah.
Explaining the client what they need to know.
Yeah.
So you need to understand, if you actually learn something out of it, a client is just a person like you. Right. If you learn something out of it, that means that a client who listens to what I have to say also learns something about it.
Right.
Which again, this is why we're here, because you're getting to the point that how do we make the client know how to make the right decision?
Exactly. And this is how I feel so far about, across the whole 2 months of working with you, is that I found you'll ask some like professional questions. It's like defining the scope. And once you know the scope, you'll know what kind of construction to do, and you will know what kind of answer to the clients. And I found this is quite imperative to first of all define the scope by asking the right questions, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Usually that's what I'm going to do. Every meeting that I would conduct, first of all, I will listen. I will let the client talk, because every piece of information that comes out of their mouth,
they're all details and
is important.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
So this is why it becomes easier and much simpler to understand the scope. And I find that most clients would get frustrated if you don't understand what they're trying to explain to you.
Right.
Right? So again, our job is to listen, to understand. Of course, every time when I talk to my client, I have that, in my mind. Yeah. I listen to the information and I have like a Tetris kind of with little pieces going down, and I get the big picture. Right. To the point where I would probably know what kind of house they will live in without seeing the house. Because we designed so many over the years, we built so many over the years. I know those structures and I know those designs. So when somebody would call me and tell me, "Oh, Max, I have a load-bearing wall. We're trying to do renovation throughout our house, remove this load-bearing wall, and it goes in a Z shape," I know right away that most of the time it would be a certain kind of building, right?
Right. This is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's based on, the whole 10, 15 years of experiences.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
10, 15, 20.
20 years. 10, 15,
I wish.
Exactly. So the time frame for you to know, this is going to be the home to be built. Maybe right now for you, it's like 10 seconds, after listening to your clients, answering your questions. But I mean, in the future, it's going to be 1 second you won't know. You got building AI. Right. Okay. So I have the second question here for you. So how should the first meeting between a homeowner and a consultant be conducted? In person, online, or over the phone? Right? Okay. How do you feel?
So it's a great question.
Yeah.
First of all, I do want to stress it to everybody out there that situations vary and it's different. But the reason this question is a great question is because every time when a homeowner wants to do something, they assume, let's get somebody out here to see and to understand, which I find that's a mistake. Okay. Most of the time, you do not need me to be on site
all the time
to understand what you're doing.
Right.
What you need me is to talk to you, to communicate with you, to understand whether you want to hire me or not. And only after that, you can go into the details.
Right.
What people confuse is they would get somebody on site, even me, they would tell me, Max, I would so appreciate if you can actually come and see. The problem is when you come on site to see a job, two things happen. Now, you don't just need to evaluate your contractor. You also need to see whether they know what they're doing.
Right.
So you need to evaluate their personality, whether it's something that is a fit for you,
Right.
and also whether they know what they're doing. I personally believe it's a lot.
Okay.
It's a lot. You cannot determine that in 40, 50, 1 hour meeting. I think that the best way to approach it is to have an online meeting, Zoom team meetings, which most of the time, I'm doing those.
Yeah.
Because first of all, you want to discuss the scope, see if your consultant is knowledgeable enough,
Right.
see if they are somebody you could work with, because at the end of the day, it might not be a fit.
True.
Maybe I'm too lenient, maybe I'm too tough, maybe I don't know enough, maybe I know too much. You want to understand whether the personality is there. You're about to start a relationship that is going to go for an X amount of time, months, maybe years, if you're building a full build. And you want to make sure that this relationship is not going to end up with divorce.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So
True.
I think this first initial meeting should be most of the time about vaguely, what is that you want to do? What can we do for you? What is that we're doing?
Right.
Okay. Now, if this meeting is successful and you're thinking, okay, sounds like this is a company for us. Sounds like we can work with this company.
Right.
Let's get them on site to see what we're doing.
So it's kind of interview, vice versa, right?
Exactly.
Like interview you and
Exactly.
the client.
So when you're working with a client think that they interview the contractor.
Yeah.
The contractor also interviews their
vice
clients.
versa, right? Yeah.
Do we actually want them as clients? We had a situation before where we had a very anxious client, which made them very difficult.
Oh, really?
And it makes the construction process very difficult. So you want to see whether the expectations of the client are matching the expectation of the company that is about to work with them.
Right.
Right? Of course, you want to see not only whether this person is nice or not, whether they understand, whether they give you certain details. And when all that match, I believe only then you can say, okay, it looks like your budgets are within my budgets. It looks like you're a good person to work with. You will be there if something happens to take liability, which is very important. You remember about the last client that called us in? You remember that they had an issue in their house, and eventually we came in right away the same day, realized that it wasn't an issue, everything was okay.
Right.
Moved on. But this is something that your client wants to make sure that you will do, and not be like, oh, you have a problem, you got to pay me or I'm leaving, kind of thing.
This is so bad.
It is bad.
This is so bad.
So, so very important.
Right.
Very important when it comes to it, to make sure that you guys are on the same page. When the homeowner is aligned with the expectations with the contractor,
right,
there's no over or under expectations. Everything is going to be fine.
Right.
And this is where you as a homeowner decide, okay,
I'm going
now
to
I want him in. Now that the budgets and everything work, let's have them in my house. Let's quickly discuss about it and see what we can actually do on site.
Right. So question here, now how many Zoom meeting or how many meeting usually took for, like, in average, or like even for you, like your own experience, how many meetings and like how long for you to get the client and how the client choose you?
Yeah.
Just, quite curious.
Yeah. So usually, well, first of all, I'll explain to you one thing before even getting to this meeting.
Okay.
There's a certain process to do everything. And we have that process. So for example, in order to get to talk about everything, you need to, contact our company. We book a meeting with you.
Yeah.
And then in this meeting, that's the time when you actually get to talk with somebody. Which again, when you're going back to this one person operation, they will answer your phone call and probably discuss most of the things with you right away.
Right.
But also, some people would not like that idea. But also, at the end of the day, when you get to talk to me, and you go through all these processes, you need to understand working with the municipalities, it's all about processes. It's all about timelines.
Right.
It's all about everything is bureaucracy. You got city bureaucracy, municipal bureaucracy. So if you're not ready to be a little bit patient to talk to a good consultant,
right,
you're in trouble.
Pretty much.
Okay?
Pretty much.
You're going to start a process that is going to take you months, so might as well, make sure that you're talking to the right person.
Right.
So with that being said, when you're hiring, when you're talking to me, when you actually get to me, I believe that this first initial meeting would take approximately around 40 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Usually this 40 minutes will mainly be discussing listening and then discussing. So I would listen to what the client has to say. When they're done, I will give my input.
Right.
Explain why I think whether yes or no. Because again, we're going to discuss that being agreeable, why that can be a problem as well.
Right. Okay.
I will tell them what I think about whether yes, they can do it, no, they cannot do it, or should they replace or just have a different strategy. Sometimes how to, make it simpler and more cost efficient. After that meeting, usually if they decide that they want to go ahead with us, we will meet them already on site to take measurements, if necessary to take measurements.
Right.
If it's a new build, we will just meet in the office or, sometimes in their house to discuss their future request. What is that they want, your wish list. And we'll start from there.
To be roughly like less than a week. Like less than a week. And
oh yeah.
less than a week. Like
pretty much theoretically, it could be somebody who filled up the application online.
Yeah.
Tomorrow they will have the admin team calling them to have a meeting, and probably within the next few days after that, we're gonna have that meeting over Teams.
Right.
Again, if all if everything
solid,
aligns, if all stars aligns, and we are a company, we're a good fit in for the client.
Right.
We usually would be there within a couple of days later, already to kind of start on working on the initial design.
Wow, the process is quite
it's pretty fast.
Yeah, pretty fast. Yeah,
pretty
like
fast,
less than like 14 days maybe.
Kind of. I would say within a week, week and a half.
That's pretty fast.
But again, it also depends on the client,
on
right?
the clients, right?
Sometimes the client would take a couple of minutes to think about it, which is perfectly fine.
Right.
You need to understand when you're about to design and to build a home, and you're about to spend, depending what, laneways, homes, whatever you're building, you're about to spend hundreds of thousands, if not more than $1 million at certain situation.
True.
Of your money, you want to take a couple of minutes to make the right decision.
Yeah, because speaking of the right decision for homeowners, this is actually a good segue, because it is exactly related to the third question I have right now. It's going to be, so what are some of the biggest mistakes, right? Like homeowners make when contacting and choosing a paramedic consultant?
Yeah. Another interesting question. So, so sometimes one problem that I see constantly, there are two kind of people, right? There are two kind of people that would contact us. Not two kind of people. I mean, two kind of situations in which people will contact us to start on something. First is if something was built illegally. So somebody complained, and they decided that they need to legalize it.
Right.
Certain situation is when, they just want to build something and they contact us. So I will talk about the first situation. What happens is people will call you in and not disclose the full situation.
Right.
They're trying to give you as less situation as possible because they're hoping you can take over their project, even though sometimes there are a lot of issues with it. And they will tell you what you want to hear. Right. This problem number. And I'll give you an example where that happens.
Because remember, like at our last episode, you remember like the lady, because she was like building stuff at home, but she said, "Oh no, I'm just kind of repairing, like tears things apart." But the neighbors, like 2 or 3 neighbors, was like complaining about it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, like inspectors came in and said, "No, halt."
Pretty much.
Pause.
So this is situation A. Because of course, when they call you, that's already means somebody complains. You talk to them.
Yeah.
So pretty much, they're trying not to disclose information because they believe less we're gonna tell you, less we're gonna get in trouble.
Yeah.
Which actually gets them into more trouble because eventually, we cannot get on top of a project not understanding the situation. Okay.
Indeed.
So clearly, I can give you an example. Situation where the client got an order to comply.
Yeah.
An order to comply, we discussed that previously, is when the city comes in, realize that you did something illegal, gave you an order to start legalizing it, and you have to comply.
Right.
So they would not tell you that because they think that it's going to change your perspective, your prices, and everything else, which eventually, assuming you don't know about it, you start the process and you get in trouble in the middle of the process. And now the client has to pay a little bit more. And or because we would be able to fix the situation, talk to the inspector versus we can do it later.
Right.
Okay, so this is one mistake that I find clients do, not disclosing information. Second mistake that I find that clients do, another mistake is not hiring an actual design build company, hiring a contractor who tells them that they can pull their permits from the city, but really hiring a different
person, like render?
A different company.
Okay.
So it could be this one person operation that takes time or disappears on them. It could be many, many issues. So the problem that comes out of it, construction delays. Again, I always call clients developers.
Right.
When you build something, whether starting with a secondary unit, moving on to even, laneway or garden suite,
right,
and a new house, doesn't matter what. Really what you're doing is every month the construction is delayed, you are missing rent.
Yeah, you mentioned that before, right?
Missing mortgage. Paying more mortgage payment.
Right.
So because you're a developer and you hired this great person that can build your house, but because they're a one-person operation, exactly like they don't have their time scheduling. So everything takes longer. They might do something like, for example, we have a lot of situations of contractors that come to us. Well, Max, I have this client, we're building a house for them. I was working with this other company, but we had some miscommunications and it didn't go where we wanted to, and now we have to start over.
Wow.
Meanwhile, the homeowner doesn't know about that.
What?
Right? And the contractor will look for excuses. But that's a different story. I'm not here talking on behalf of those contractors.
Right.
But a mistake, again, that homeowners do is giving the opportunity to a contractor to do everything. Clearly, you're a contractor. You're not a consultant.
Yeah.
A design build company like ours, yes, we can do that because everything is done in-house. So we do have our service. Architectural team that's what they do on a daily basis. They're professionals.
Yeah.
So third issue that I find happens is clients that are looking for cheaper solutions. Again, simple example, which I told you before.
Yeah.
You cannot compare apples with oranges.
True.
So even though two consultants gave you different prices, clearly sometimes the price is just inflated. Okay?
Yeah.
But let's assume you're doing something that one consultant gave you 10,000, the other one 14,000. When you're building a house, I don't know for what reason, it doesn't matter. You think both of them are good, but the 14,000 is a little bit better. But, I'll pay a little bit, I'll pay 10. Because $4,000, I can get better toilets, I can get better finishes, I can get better kitchen. I'll do that. That's exactly where the problem starts. Timelines can be
Way
longer now
Yeah.
because of that situation.
Miscommunication.
Again,
right?
structure. If your structural components that were proposed by the cheaper contractor are not as knowledgeable, yes, you can build your house. It's going to be okay. But you're going to pay more in construction not understanding it.
True.
While the second one charged you $4,000, in this case more, but very knowledgeable. They will give you the better design. They will put all their knowledge out there, which
Right.
basically that's what you hear when I'm talking to the clients.
Exactly what you did.
I will give them all the information they need and above and beyond. And actually, even I kind of tell them, write that down. It's going to be good for you.
Exactly.
For that specific reason, you want to make sure that clients feel on top of this process. They should not feel that just because they paid you the money, now they kind of, you hold them by the neck and everything is up to you and it is what it is. No, they need to feel in control.
Right.
It's their money.
Right.
When you invest a lot of money, again, just like when you invest into the stock market, if you invest into the stock market, you invest a lot of money, you have the right to know what is going on.
That's
Okay?
correct. Yeah.
So sometimes this extra amount of money will take the service from maybe even here, maybe even good, to extraordinary, where not only that everything is done on your behalf in a great manner,
Right.
but also that they got enough experience to choose structure A and not structure B,
Right.
and to save me $15,000 only on the structure. Now, take all the process of construction. You got foundation, you got plumbing, you got framing, you got HVAC, you got electrical, you got plumbing. I said plumbing.
Yeah, plumbing. And
You got
like more
roofing, everything.
Right.
If you know how to use the right material, they do not have to be the more expensive one, especially the materials that are not visible.
Right.
What kind of spray foam? The one that costs $10 or the one that costs $7,000, if you're doing a full house.
Yeah.
So with that being said, this is the most crucial solution, the most crucial thing that the client, I think, is doing.
Right.
Looking for the cheaper solution. When you're having this agreement with the municipality, this contract that you're building, you got to make sure that you got the best company that will do everything on your behalf.
Right.
They have to be working for you, not agreeing with the city or with the municipality to do something that is wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I was so surprised that you consult for free, because when I sitting in front, listen to you explain, and you were basically talking and telling your potential client, I would say, about what kind of people to avoid, and those are pretty crucial stuff to avoid for sure.
Of course.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you even more. Giving them all this information not only makes them feel more secure, it also make us as a company understand what kind of person we're working with.
That's correct.
We don't want any, as a construction firm, as a design build firm.
Yeah.
We don't want to get to a situation where, clients meet me on site and tell me, Max, you didn't tell me this. You didn't tell me that. Well, you're experienced. You should have known.
Right.
Of course I should have known.
Yeah.
So more crystal clear information the client receives, more they can trust you and sleep tight at night knowing that we just pocketed hundreds of thousands of dollars with this company, but we know that it's going to be done right. You know?
Right. So speaking about clients, right? So what is the biggest red flag? So what are the biggest red flags for the homeowners out there? Like personally for you?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, sure. So basically, because you were talking about clients and how to choose the right consultants, right?
So you're talking about red flags. Where the
exactly.
biggest
like red flags. Yeah, for the homeowners when they approach to. Yeah.
There are quite a few, but I'm gonna talk about the ones that are most obvious.
Okay. What are they?
Because if those most obvious are there, probably the other ones don't matter. So I would say one would be agreeableness. Sometimes you would, I don't know if you had this situation, but I've been in a situation where, believe it or not, it happened, where we were two consultants on site. First of all, it's not healthy for a situation like that to happen. But we've been there.
Okay.
And while waiting, I heard the client talking to the consultant and asking where. Well, we really want to have that done. Will you be able to do that? Yeah, I think we're going to be able to pull it out.
Right. But it's not.
Can you do this? Well, I think we're going to be able to pull it out. I find that consultants like that are trouble because they're trying to come in and get the money.
Right.
Quite often, I will explain my clients, okay, what do you want to build? Well, we want to build an addition. I would explain, listen, with my experience, there are certain zoning bylaws that might be in the way of the size that you want to build.
Right.
Do you understand that? Or do you understand that we might need to reduce the expectations? Because otherwise, A, B, C, D, those troubles may arise. And yes, it will shock sometimes the clients. But after thinking about it, they will tell you, okay, you know what? That makes sense. So for an example, I'll give you an example with it.
Okay.
I've been to a client where, again, they wanted to do an addition. That's where my example is from.
Right.
And they came to us and they said, Max, I want to have an addition 20 feet wide by 15 feet long.
Okay.
They have a fairly, well, not too big of a backyard.
Right.
Now, I know, as a contractor that there are zoning bylaws and zoning bylaws dictate how far you can build from the property line. And I knew that this buffer area will go into where they want the future addition to be. So I had to burst that bubble for them right away. And unfortunately tell them that this is the situation. Now, how I make that happen is that after I tell them that, I actually encourage them to go to the municipality, to the city, and talk to the zoning to the zoning department there.
Right.
And the reason I love it even more, because they actually do that, they come back and they trust me even more.
Wow.
Because now they confirmed something that nobody told them and just promised them a lot. Imagine you are here to charge, I don't know, depending what work you do, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $700,000 for an addition for a client. And you charge them and you take the down payment and you hire somebody else to do the permits for you. And then somebody else tells you that's impossible.
This is going to
You know what usually contractors do? They tell this person, what do we do to make it possible? Because I already charged them. I need to continue with the work. What do we do?
This is nonsense. Wow.
Well, it's not nonsense. That's unfortunately what construction is all about. But those are the situations that you as a homeowner want to avoid.
Okay.
So again, when a contractor if everything is okay, it's fine. But then there are other ways to see whether a contractor is a good contractor, other red flags. But overall, I'm not saying if a contractor comes to your house to paint your wall and agrees with you on colors, they're a bad contractor. Right? Clearly, I'm not gonna care.
Yeah.
Like, listen, you got a taste, I got a taste. I'm here to do what you want, not the other way around. Although sometimes I would even suggest not to do that. But anyways, with that being said, agreeableness, 100% agreeing with your client on everything, doesn't matter. Even a kitchen. Oh, you want that? Of course we can do it. Of course we can do that. Okay. A professional should always say, yes, we can do it, but we should pay attention. If we do this here, that might influence something else. So just letting you know, before we start moving ahead or before you hire us or anybody else, you know, I might not be here tomorrow. You might not decide to hire me, which is fine. But I want to share this piece of information with you so that you don't make this mistake.
Right.
You know, so I believe a good contractor will always kind of give suggestions, not just stand there and agree with the client.
Right.
Okay. So, what else?
And is that quite normal though? Like, no, super normal for, like, you know, based on your perspective and all your experience. Is that normal for, you know, clients asking you, oh, I want to add A, B, and C, and D? Like, is that
Please
quite
elaborate.
often?
What do you mean by client asking me?
Because we were talking about the red flag, right?
Yes.
So they're asking you, can I have, like, add another, you know, parts of in my home, like add another stuff, but clearly, you know, those are not in your scope, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Are those quite normal?
So you're asking
Like,
if it's normal when you have a lot of change orders in the middle of construction?
Yeah, kind of.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Listen, we're working on a house. We are discussing all the a new house. We're discussing all the finishes to what kind of size of tile we're gonna have. It's like looking at the moon from very far away. You know, eventually you get to the point and you see clearer. So of course, materials might change. And of course, things might change. At the end of the day, if the change is not something that adds to the scope, like, I don't care if my client going to come and tell me, Max, you remember we discussed that tile? Don't worry about it. We're going to buy a different tile.
Right.
It's fine. My tile guy going to install
small changes.
We'll install this tile or that tile. Doesn't matter. Okay. But if the client going to say, Max, we discussed that we're going to install only 100 square feet of tile, and now you want to install 200 square feet of tile, it's a different story.
Right.
But again, there is a change work order application. They clearly send it to us over the email. The day after we respond to it, you know, we tell them, you know, what it's going to cost, what amount it's going to cost, and we just go ahead.
Right.
Simple as that. And not even one construction that we're going without changes. It's normal. Again, if the change is in material and the material costs the same, or the client buys the materials, whatever you buy, we're going to install for you.
Right.
If the change is something that makes, of course, more work, it's more work. But it's pretty much done on regular basis.
Right?
Yeah.
So because I mentioned about, you know, they may change in the scope, right? Speaking about the client side, it's actually related to my fifth question for you.
But by the way, before we're going to the next question, I would really like to discuss a couple more points. That was, believe it or not, it was only one point that we discussed here.
Okay.
So another point that is very important, red flags, right? Is when your contractor doesn't discuss with you an approximate timelines. So again, good contractor or an experienced contractor should be able to evaluate approximately
the time
frame of your construction, of course.
Right.
Like if you come to a client's house and they want to build a house of, let's say, 25, 3,500 square feet, you should be able to tell them, okay, that's going to take between, 9 to 12 months or depending on the finishes, right? 12 or, 15 months, depending really on the finishes. But they should be able to tell that.
Right.
Based on square footage. We're not talking about budgets here. We're not talking money. So it's not something that should be a problem. again, if you build a 3,500 square feet house, you should be able to approximate the timelines.
True.
Again, there are a lot of contractors that would come to your house and try to be very vague. Well, it depends. We don't know. Something could take 8 months, 10 months, 12 months, but we don't know. And all of a sudden, you got a range between 5 months, bringing a couple of I don't know, skids and throwing them on your site versus having a house built for the next 2.5 to 3 years, you know?
Right.
You should understand. The reason you should understand is very simple. Because while this all going on, homeowner pays their payments.
True.
Whether it's a mortgage that is involved and everything, it's a lot of money that if you do not include it in your budget for construction, you're in trouble. So for example, person A would have, let's say, X amount of money. Let's talk in numbers.
Yeah.
It's going to be silly numbers, but let's talk in numbers.
Okay.
Person A, well, let's not talk silly. Let's talk
The actual...
Person A would want to invest $400,000 to build a laneway suite. They call a contractor and they say that we want to build a laneway suite.
Right.
Okay. We have $400,000. Okay. And of course, I'm being very sketchy here because that's not actually how it's conducted. Okay. We're good. Let's start. Person B would be a little bit more educated and would say, I have $400,000. I want to build a laneway. How much is it going to cost? 400. How long is it going to take? A year and a half. Okay, now I'm in trouble. 400 is not enough to cover all the payments. So now they need to negotiate or think, what do we do? Do we hire a different contractor? Do we just, because if we love the contractor, wait a little bit and get the money? Those are very important questions.
Right.
So when a contractor doesn't share with you not detailed, but approximate timeline, you got to be very careful about that as well.
Right.
Another situation is when a contractor doesn't answer questions. So I've been through a situation where, a consultant would come in, especially I find with not a new build, but things that have to do with building codes.
Right.
Homeowners that finish a basement for a secondary unit.
Okay.
There's a lot of requirements for that, building code requirements. So, homeowners would ask, well, for example, what kind of finish you need to have here? I heard that you need some special ceiling. Yeah, we know that. We're going to do everything right. Of course, we're going to use a special ceiling, but, yes, we definitely understand. We need to have a fire-rated ceiling.
Right.
We're going to use Type X drywall, fire insulation, sound insulation. More details like that you get shows more about the legitimacy of the contractor.
True.
When you see that the contractor is avoiding
making
answers
it
to
so
get
vague, right?
Sorry?
They make it like super vague, like answering pretty vague, vaguely.
Exactly.
Then you will know.
You clearly find, that's a red flag. You clearly find and understand that that there is a problem.
It's kind of iffy, right?
Sorry?
It's kind of iffy.
Yeah, definitely. And the last point I was thinking about here is the lack of transparency with the client. So we discussed about it a little bit.
True.
Contractors that would come in as we are not just me, myself, and my hammer contractor. I'm doing everything. And they will not explain to the client that, who is their consultant. They would not their client to communicate with the consultant, and they would be the middleman.
Wow.
So sometimes that would create misunderstandings, issues, and I always encourage again, and I stress it once again, to try and talk with the consultants face to face.
Right.
Not to go through just contractor that just because they do the permits for you, you can tell them, okay, you're going to do the permits for us, but make sure that we are in contact with the consultants.
Right.
No need the middleman. Okay, sketch what you need. He goes to the consultant.
Yeah.
Do that. Oh, we can do this. And then argument.
Versus
If the consultant is there to talk to the homeowner, it makes the contractor more responsible.
Right.
And it gives the contractor more credibility.
Mm.
And contractors, unfortunately, look at it the other way around.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try and control everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to charge for everything,
Mm-hmm.
make a little bit of money out of each process,
right,
and get them in trouble in the future. And of course, lack of transparency when it comes to, when you have a construction schedule done
mm-hmm.
and there's transparency with the company, you're going to have a full schedule in front of your eyes. Like, for an example, okay, today we're going to have framing.
Mm-hmm.
Tomorrow we're going to have plumbing, electrical, and mechanical together because we have enough space for all of them to work.
Right.
And you save a lot of time on it. When you have a contractor, me, myself, and my hammer, what happens is they approach it differently because they're so busy with everything, ordering materials, going this, going there.
And they have different projects as well.
Dealing with permits, dealing with everything. Eventually it's like, okay, what do we do today? Today we're going to do framing. Hey, framer, can you come tomorrow morning? Okay, perfect. You already lost one day. The framer works. They're running around with materials and everything else, maybe other projects, smaller projects or whatever they're doing. Oh, framer calls in. We're almost done. They would come in, pay the framer. That's in a good case. Pay the framer. And okay, what do we need now? Let's call the electrician. And the construction pretty much stretches to forever. Because what happens is, instead of having everybody together, because you thought about all the processes before they even started,
right?
You kind of work on the fly, which again, what happens when you do everything on the fly? You make mistakes.
Exactly.
It's normal. Again, will they tell the homeowners that they make mistakes?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Where is it going to come out? From their pocket or the budget of the homeowner?
Right.
Budget of the homeowner.
True.
So, got you right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's gonna be homeowner.
I know you're thinking, of course, from their pocket.
Yeah.
Not in real life. In real life, they will not tell you that. They will just find a reason why they should propose a different anything else that would need for more permits.
Right.
And get themselves in trouble. I don't know if you remember the last episode we were talking about the pool.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
With,
the whole 1
so
to 2 years.
Guys,
right?
if you didn't hear that story, you should definitely go and listen to it. But we talked about the pool, how the contractor picked up a lot of jobs and eventually, was behind, wasn't able to do anything, and then was looking for down payments to actually pay for existing jobs.
Right.
And you get yourself into this circulation of problems.
True.
And a lot of lawsuits. So this is pretty much something that starts when a builder is there on their own to do everything.
Right.
You really need a certain administration team to help out.
I feel like you answered my my fifth question, actually.
Okay, go for it.
So my fifth question was, what information, right? And what kind of questions should a homeowner ask the consultants, actually? So this is basically, my fifth question, but you answer it all. Like on the red flag part, you answer it all, which is pretty good.
So I'm just gonna add to it just to answer that question because it's a very important question as well. I'm not even sure how long we're rolling, but I do think that I think the best question to ensure success that you need to ask the consultant to ensure success is more of a technical. Try to ask technical questions, whether it's a consultant or contractor, designer, build. You see, I always call a design build company consultants because they're not really just contractors, but they're not really just designers. True. So I call them consultants. They're building consultants for you. So just so that people out there don't get confused, why am I talking a lot about consultants? We're really talking about construction.
Right.
But if I say builder, that's kind of incorrect. But the best thing is to ensure when you're talking to a consultant,
right, Okay.
is technical stuff.
But what if?
If they're vague again about those technical stuff,
Okay.
that means that they're just a salesperson.
Right. So question here, like, for example, a person like me,
Yes.
Like very young and not much experience, under the belt. How and where can I kind of accumulate and pick it up the technical question you mentioned?
I'll tell you. That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about any construction project that you begin.
Right.
The question is how you approach it.
Okay.
And that's where exactly the problems start. Most people, what would they do? What would you do if you think you want to build something tomorrow?
Search on Google.
Okay, assuming you did.
Maybe search on Google. And
let me help you out on that.
Okay.
Your first instinct would be, I need to get a contractor to talk to.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Right? That's the first instinct.
True.
And that's because there's not a lot of companies like us out there trying to explain and educate our clients. The first thing that should be done when you want to build, let's say, an addition or a house, you should go to the city and ask them, what are the restrictions?
Oh, okay.
What are the zoning bylaws?
Right.
What can we not build? Those are supposed to be the first steps. Now, most people rely on calling a contractor that would give them their personal experience, which is not that big. They only know what they built. Some of them are great, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Most of them are not.
Most.
And that's where the snowball effect of issues start. But again, back to what we discussed. First thing, you should talk to the municipality.
Okay.
Because those are the people that you kind of know, even though it's also arguable sometimes, but you kind of know they will give you the correct answer. So for example, if you want to build a house, can I build, let's say, 3,500 square feet house on my property? They will be able to calculate, tell you what the zoning, tell you yes or no.
Right.
Of course, the question is only as good, the answer is only as good as the question.
Right.
Meaning, if you don't know how to ask the right questions, you're not going to get the full answer. So, it's funny. I had a client who went to the municipality and she was doing, we'll get back to it in a second.
Sure.
She was doing renovations. And she went to the municipality and she was smart enough to ask them, what do I need to do to get this renovation ongoing? And the city, just answered, well, you need a designer to do your drawings. The problem is he did not expect that she need an architectural designer.
Okay.
So she went to, and she found an interior designer, paid him tons of money to do the drawings, only to realize after that those drawings were not sufficient.
Wow.
So, knowledge is power. So, you go to the municipality, you find out, you write everything down, back to what we discussed, how big of a house I can get. How far are those, if you remember, we discussed setbacks, how far from the property lines we have to stay, how tall of a house we can have, all that kind of stuff. And only then you approach who? No, I'm asking you a question. Who do you approach after?
Let me think about it. I need your insight. Hold on.
I'm going to help you with that.
Okay. Need an insight.
After that, many people would say, okay, so now we can get to talk to the contractor.
Oh, so be contractor.
Wrong.
No?
Wrong. After that, you actually talk to somebody, either like us, design build companies,
oh, got it.
or a consultant.
Okay.
Maybe architectural consultant only. Now, if the answers of the consultant align with the answers of the municipality, then now you can trust that the consultant know what they're talking about. And you can let them work on your design.
Right.
And when you work on this design and you have a consultant that knows what they're saying and working for you and helping you, only now you can get a contractor.
Right.
That their job is not to be your consultant, not to be the municipality, although they try to be, but to be a contractor. To look at the drawings and to build what you want to build.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So the
Okay.
process is the other way around. Contractors supposed to look at the drawings and quote it. If there are if there are issues with the drawings, which happens,
Right.
they would tell the
This is-
the homeowner, we have some issues, talk to the consultant, the consultant would fix it, moving on. That's a healthy relationship.
Right.
That's where you're not getting yourself in trouble and everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. Okay? Now, in case of companies like us, which is a design build firm, it's a different story. When we are meeting with the client, our construction team usually, when it gets to it, also there.
Right.
And we are same as in this case discussing those issues, but again, just approaching them much faster
Right.
because everything is
It's
you know
like one
is
service
in-house
altogether.
and yeah, of course.
Altogether.
Now also don't forget that when there are issues like that, if you have a consultant and a contractor is two different entities, you know, not every time when a homeowner needs something to be fixed, actually reviewed by the consultant right away. They're busy with other jobs.
Right.
So you might not be always a priority. So with that being said, it's good to find the right team
Right.
where you are going to be the priority.
Right.
Where they have enough people, enough manpower to facilitate
Right.
your needs, to facilitate your urgency, your pocket,
Pocket.
the money that you have.
Right.
It's all one big thing that people are not thinking about.
Right. So just to tease out a little bit to know my understanding is aligned to yours. So you would say the first step will be contact like municipal, right? Like asking questions about
Yeah.
how can I build this up?
Yes.
Is it like illegal?
Which,
legal?
by the way, as a somebody who lives in the city, you pay taxes.
Yeah.
You're allowed to approach the municipality and ask questions. What do I need? Do I need to hire a consultant or not? Of course,
Because
they
you
will
pay
tell
them.
you yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah, of course.
can I build what I want or can I not?
Right.
Some people would come in, buy a property without knowing, and they would want to convert it from single family dwelling to an apartment building. It's not always it's allowed. If you don't have the right person to give you the right answers,
Right.
you might get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, that's true. So you would say, because I feel like all my questions, right? Like I ask you, and also like those answers, like like we mentioned about, my
they
last
intertwine
questions- yeah,
with each
intertwine
other,
with each
yes.
other, exactly. So the last question here is based on what kind of information, right, should homeowner receive from a consultant, a consultant, contractor, whatever. But I feel like I mostly covered. But would you mind
Okay,
mention more?
so
Summary?
it's not. I'm not going to talk again about information per se. I'm going to tell you that I think that a contractor should be transparent. Everything should be crystal clear.
Right.
Contractors should be able to see red flags about whatever the homeowner proposed right away and let them know about it.
Yeah.
They should not be agreeable about issues that can come up. I think that the right client will appreciate it. Okay. Yes, they should understand that they're taking a responsibility.
Right.
From now on, this is for a certain amount of time, our family, and we should take care of it as if we would take care of ourselves.
True.
If something is not allowed, same as you would explain that to your family member, you should explain to your client. When they're putting this money out there, they're putting way too much trust in you.
Right. That's correct.
Sometimes all their life savings.
Whoa.
It's a fact.
Really?
It's a fact. Yes. People would collect money for years to do a certain construction in their house.
And that's basically their
Yeah.
like
You are the one
retirement.
that either will provide that dream, as you called it,
Yeah.
in the beginning, or nightmare. What are you going to be? And that, believe it or not, it's if you go a little bit deeper into that question, it's a very scary and a deep question. Are you gonna provide them their dream or their nightmare?
Question here: do you want to dig more detail about it in the next episode, maybe? I mean, it's another idea. Yeah, right.
I think
it's another idea. Like way more detail on, like this kind of part and some pitfall, right? I feel like most listener, especially me myself, right? Just want to build a home, want to have my own home here, in Ontario, like here in Canada, right?
I think what we need to do, we need to ask our viewers to let us know. First of all, of course, to leave us comments. We want to know how we did. Yeah. This is our second episode. The first one is, a little bit out there, but this is our second episode. We need to know how we did. Ask us questions. What do you think we should talk about? As we discussed previously, we're probably going to have guests coming in, and we're going to have all kind of different
project estimator, coordinator, whatever.
Designers.
Like
so we're going to talk about a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
But specifically, if there is anything you would want to talk about, if there are any questions or experiences that you went through or going through, right? You're in front of construction right now and you're thinking, okay, Max, I'm in this situation. What do you think about it? And, I can talk about it in an episode and put it out there.
Yeah.
It's just going to help more people.
Exactly.
It's going to help us.
Yeah.
As consultants, it's funny because if more people knowledgeable out there, it's going to make my job much, much simpler.
Right.
I wouldn't need to come and explain every client how to be picking your contractor.
Right.
It's going to be much, much simpler. So I guess this is the goal.
This is going to be the way we're going to do.
Yeah. This is my way to communicate with, whether it's past, present, or future clients. And I think that's it.
I feel like you guys can, comment down below YouTube, like comment sections and Spotify, ask us as many questions as you guys want to ask. And we'll have some kind of, because we mentioned about, right? Like
we will try our best. Okay. Really try our best to answer all of those. But, I think in the beginning it's not going to be a big issue.
We'll make it happen for sure, Max. We'll make it. Oh, what? 1,000 questions? No. I can answer them all.
That's gonna be.
That's gonna be clean up.
That's gonna be a lot crazier. But anyways, guys, all of you out there, as they all say, like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed that content, and we're gonna try and put more and more out there because my approach is more of you out there being educated about construction. Easier, I believe my job is as a contractor / consultant. And the communication much better with people that are knowledgeable and know what they're going to expect. So again, like and subscribe, and hopefully we'll see you on the next one.
And remember to comment below, asking some questions for us, so we can have more, content and more inspiration to generate, and So.
And now, as we always say, back to work.